Hello, everyone. I'm Vince White, still an employment attorney. Today, we're talking about artificial intelligence. Yeah, artificial intelligence tied to employment law. Can you imagine? It's time for Skynet. They're coming. They're coming for us. It's probably not in the context you think. A lot of people probably assume the Frank Yang argument, right? The concept that automation, often driven by AI, will replace many workers, many factory workers, but also the FedEx delivery people, the warehouse staff. So many jobs are at risk, frankly, including lower level attorneys and programmers and a lot of jobs that people used to think were going to be safe from artificial intelligence. Those are all seeming like they're going to go the way of extinction and be replaced by AI. That's a bummer, depending on who you are and what you do, but that's not what we're talking about today. What we're actually talking about today is artificial intelligence um, as it's utilized in hiring. This is not a new thing. This has been going on, right? Companies have been using it in a couple different ways. They've been using it to check through thousands of resumes, have an AI, have an algorithm go through thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of resumes and find the people with the most relevant experience. It's great. It's efficient. Theoretically that works. Wonderful. Um, they're also using AI to sift through candidates' social media. A little bit scarier, right? I mean, they're trying to get a feel if you're right for the job, more so than what you tell them in your cover letter, your resume, your references. They want to know more, but they don't want to have a human spend the time doing it, so they have AI do it. Okay, it's a little dicier. It's a little more concerning. Um, Here, let's turn your blood cold. Let's really give you the chills. All these virtual interviews you're doing nowadays, because of COVID, because you can't go in and interview live, or even just because efficiency's sake, you're doing virtual interviews first. Because who wants to fly across the country just to interview if you're not going to get hired? A lot of companies are using a mix of AI software, facial recognition, reading the tone in your voice, analyzing your body language, and basically everything about you to make decisions about your personality and if it's the best personality for the job. Well, that's a little bit terrifying, right? It's a little scary to think. Uh, the days of faking it till you make it may be long gone if the AI is any good. But I guess, I mean, on one hand, that's great for the companies if it works. Theoretically, you're getting a benefit to the meritocracy, you're getting the best person for the job. But there's some problems, right? Because an AI is only as good as the programming staff who create it and the data that's fed into it, from which it will extrapolate what it needs to do, right? So we'll go through a hypothetical. Let's say your company just happens to be male dominated. Just happens to be. That's in 2020. Your company mostly male employees, and a whole bunch of the best employees in the business. Um, they just happen to have played college football. Okay. Well, that all that data is going to go into this AI, who's going to have a big say in hiring going forward, right? And I got to tell you, there's not too many women playing college football. So your male-dominated company, I think the AI could extrapolate. Oh, college football goes great for us. All these fellas who played college football, great employees, great hires. We need some more of those. Let's heavily weight. Let's give a little extra juice to people who played college football. Oh, well, you've just accidentally perpetuated a predominantly male, non-diverse workplace. The AI didn't mean to do that. The AI doesn't have any animus against women, I would think, right? Um, maybe even the programmers didn't. They didn't mean that to happen. But there is the law of unintended consequences, right? There's going to be a lot of that stuff that goes on. That's even assuming the AI works. Let's not forget, all the cell phone companies with their facial recognition software, well, doesn't really work on people who aren't white. Not that well. Not that well at all. So maybe all the white people are getting good scores for their personalities when it's being used, for facial recognition and body language and tone, voice, and all this stuff, right? Maybe maybe it just likes what it sees from white people because it's easier. It's easier for them to work on white faces because a lot of these things are tested on white faces, right? But there's differences. And then you apply the software to someone who's not white. Maybe has a different timbre to their voice. Maybe speaks with an accent. Maybe has different mannerisms, different body language, right? Not all cultures share all body language. Well, how is this AI correcting for that? Is it capable? Is it in fact going to hurt diversity? And that's a real concern, right? If it can't recognize your face, as many of the current cell phone software packages for facial recognition can't, for people of color, does it just give you a 0 score for all the facial recognition stuff? I mean, what's going on there? How are we correcting for this? What are we going to do? Because this is the future, and it could perpetuate or worsen some issues of workplace hiring discrimination, right? Now, there are laws, right? You can theoretically utilize Title VII and a number of laws in different states that apply specifically to AI and hiring, or even just disparate impact hiring. So if you have a policy, got yourself a policy that just happens, not intentionally, but it just happens to result in you not hiring too many individuals of a protected class, that's going to give rise to a potential Title VII claim for disparate hiring impact, right? So there's things you can do if you feel like you've been the victim of this kind of thing, but it's a little murky because you're not really going to be privy to the AI saying, I don't like his tone, I don't like the way he talks, don't like the body language, not a fan of that one. Well, you don't know that. You just know you didn't get the job, and that's kind of normal because you probably go on 50 job interviews before you find the right job that hires you, that you want. So you can't just assume that every single job you're not getting is because of the AI and the disparate impact and the fact that you're a member of a protected class. So how do you know to bring the claim? How do you know, right? That's a real problem. Now, I would say speak to an employment attorney, but how do they know? How do we know? How do I know that you weren't just hired because you didn't know the answer to programming question number 12, right? I don't know if you did or didn't. I'm not a programmer. I wasn't there. I don't know the answers. For all I know, you went in the interview and you made fun of the people interviewing you, right? I don't know. I can't tell. I wasn't there. But there's going to be people who do everything right and then don't get hired because of the AI. And we have laws to protect that individual. But how do we use them? How do we substantiate those claims? I guess in discovery, I can get these things, right? By the time I'm in discovery for you, by the time I'm representing you, we've gotten that far, how much have I spent on your case? 20,000? 30,000? Right? How many resources does a firm have to pour into a case before it finds out whether or not it was discriminatory, right? Terrifying. This has to be addressed. We need solutions to this. Nobody cares about this yet, but I'm telling you, this is as big, if not bigger, of an issue than just employees being replaced by robots. That's a whole other thing. But we have to think about this. We have to think long and hard about this. This is a real problem. Diversity could very well be seriously impacted in the workplace by this issue. And I'm not smart enough right now today to tell you I know the answer. We collectively, as an industry, as a nation, need to think about this and get out ahead of it before it starts hurting people. Alright. I'm sure no one's going to listen to me and we're just going to keep going forward. and horrible things might happen. We'll find out. We'll find out. I'm gonna keep thinking about it. Maybe I can come up with something.